Hello, my dear students. Welcome you all to Shri Jaindra Rank Zone classes. I am your mentor and your friend for the subject biology, and I will be taking the zoology part, that is animal science. My dear students, in the last lecture, we have covered, we have addressed all the major endocrine glands of the body. We discussed about their anatomy, their location, their origin, whether they are ectodermal, endodermal, or mesodermal. The type of secretion they are secreting means the chemical typology of the hormone, whether it is a polypeptide, whether it is a aminogenic hormone, whether it is a steroidal hormone. We discussed about the physiological functions of all the hormones secreted by different glands. We also discussed about the deficiencies, that is the hypersecretion and the hyposecretion, and the possible complications or the counter effects of all these hyper and hyposecretion of those hormones. Okay, today we are going to start with the glands, which are termed as accessory endocrinal glands. And these accessory endocrinal glands, they actually don't play a role directly into promotion of the growth and development of body, although some of their secretions they are directly involved as well, but majority of the secretions they have some short term effects. So now, starting with these accessory endocrinal glands or supportive endocrinal tissues, we are moving with the first slide. Before coming to this topic, I would like to inform you that the most important topic of this chapter is the hormone, their mechanism of action, their deficiency. But please don't forget to learn about the feedback mechanism. Feedback, whether it is a positive feedback or a negative feedback, depending upon the optimum, means the required concentration of hormone in the blood. If the required concentration in the blood is less, then the secretion is triggered on because of different types of receptors which are present inside our body, whether they are chemoreceptors or baroreceptors. So in the last topic, we covered about the gonadotropins, the gonads, testis and ovary. We discussed about different types of hormones secreted by testis and ovaries respectively. Today we are going to start with the glands which are present in gastrointestinal mucosa, placenta, skin, kidney, and heart. Although these tissues they are not endocrinal tissues, but some of their cells they are modified to perform this function. Like starting with gastrointestinal mucosa. It is the innermost layer of the wall of alimentary canal. So it is the innermost layer of the wall of the alimentary canal, and it is known as mucosa. Certain cells of the mucosa of stomach and intestine secrete important hormones. Gastrointestinal mucosa is endodermal in origin. Very important. Gastrointestinal mucosa is endodermal in origin, and there are certain cells of these gastrointestinal mucosa which are concerned, which are related with the secretion of hormones. Stomach. The mucosa of pyloric stomach near the duodenum secretes a hormone called gastrin. Gastrin is basically secreted by very specific G cells of the mucosal region. Presence of food in the stomach provides a stimulus for the secretion of gastrin. So the secretion of gastrin depends upon the gastric emptying time, that how much time food requires to pass away through the stomach cavity or gastric cavity. Gastrin stimulates the gastric glands to produce gastric juice. The moment the food it touches the pyloric sphincter or the pyloric region, the G cells get activated to produce gastrin. The secretion of gastrin stimulates the gastric glands to secrete gastric juice. It also stimulates the movement of stomachs. So it also helps in the movement of stomach. Intestine. The intestinal mucosa secretes six hormones: secretin, very important, cholecystokinin, enterogestrone, enterocrinin, diocrinin, and villikinin. The intestinal mucosa secretes these six hormones: secretin, cholecystokinin, enterogestrone, enterocrinin, diocrinin, and villikinin. Entry of acidic food from the stomach into the duodenum serve as a stimulator for the release of these hormones. First of all, we will talk about secretin. It is produced by a small intestinal mucosa. It causes the release of sodium bicarbonate, which act as a buffer to precipitate the pH of the food. So it causes the release of sodium bicarbonate solution from the pancreatic cells in the form of pancreatic juice and from liver for bile. It also enables the secretion and movements of stomach. So secretin is basically anti-gastrin. It is produced by the small intestinal mucosa. It causes the release of sodium bicarbonate solution from the pancreas for pancreatic juice and for the emulsification of fat which is carried by bile salts. It also inhibits the secretion and the movement of stomach. Cholecystokinin, pancreozymin. This hormone is secreted by the mucosa of entire small intestine. The actions of cholecystokinin and pancreozymin was discovered independently, but it has been discovered that both hormones have similar effects and hence it is considered as one hormone. As the name suggests, cholecystokinin and pancreozymin, they have two main functions. The word cholecystokinin is derived from three roots. Chole means bile, cysto means bladder, means the bladder, gallbladder, and kinin means to remove. The word pancreozyme is derived from pancreas, enzymin which means enzyme producer. This hormone stimulates the gallbladder to release bile and also stimulates the pancreas to release pancreatic enzymes. So cholecystokinin, pancreozymin, it has two main functions, although it is one enzyme, one hormone. Okay. The word cholecystokinin is derived from the three roots. Chole means bile, cyst means gallbladder, and kinin means to remove. The word pancreozymin is derived from the pancreas, and zymin word comes from enzyme producer. This hormone stimulates the gallbladder to release the bile. It also stimulates the pancreas to release its enzymes, pancreatic enzymes, for the digestion of food in small intestine. Enterogestrone. It is secreted by the duodenal mucosa. It shows gastric contractions. It slows down. It slows down gastric contraction. Okay, and stops the secretion of gastric juice. So enterogestrone, it helps to slow down the gastric contractions and stop the secretion of gastric juice. Cholecystokinin and pancreozymin, they stimulates gallbladder and also stimulates the pancreas to release its enzymes. Enterogestrone, it is secreted by duodenal mucosa. It slows down the gastric contractions and stops the secretion of gastric juice. Enterocrinin, it is secreted by duodenal mucosa. It stimulates the crypts of livercun to secrete the enzymes in the intestinal juice. Enterocrinin, it is secreted by duodenal mucosa. It stimulates crypts of livercun to secrete the enzymes in the intestinal juice. Duocrinin, it is secreted by duodenal mucosa. It stimulates the release of viscous mucus from Brunner's gland into small intestine or intestinal juice. Duocrinin, it is secreted by duodenal mucosa. It stimulates the release of mucus with viscous mucus from Brunner's gland into the intestinal juice. Villikinin, it is secreted by the mucosa of entire small intestine. It accelerates the movements of villi to quicken absorption of food. So villikinin, it helps to increase the rate of absorption, okay, because it accelerates the movements of villi, thereby increasing the surface area for absorption and increasing the rate of absorption as well. So the hormones are cholecystokinin, pancreazymin, enterogesterone, endocrinin, diocrinin, villikinin, and secretin. So please remember the functions and the names of these hormones. Placenta. In early embryological stages, when the early embryo reaches into the uterus from fallopian tube, it becomes implanted with the uterine wall by a placenta which helps to provide support and nutrition. The cells of placenta secrete two steroidal hormones, estradiol and progesterone, and two proteinaceous hormones, human chorionic gonadotropin and human chorionic mammotropin. The cells of placenta secrete two steroidal hormones. One is estradiol and progesterone, and two proteinaceous hormones. There are two proteinaceous hormones and two steroidal hormones. Steroidal hormones include estradiol and progesterone, and proteinaceous hormones include HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin, and human chorionic mammotropin. Early placenta secretes so much of chorionic gonadotropin that the later starts being excreted in the mother's urine just after 2 weeks of pregnancy. Its presence is used as a pregnancy test. It serves to maintain the corpus luteum and to stimulate it for secretion. Early placenta secretes so much of chorionic gonadotropin that in the latest, excessive amount is being excreted in the mother's urine, which becomes a part of principle of a test. Okay, this happens just after 2 weeks of pregnancy. So the pregnancy test is based on this method only. Progesterone secretions, they, or we can say the placenta, it serves to maintain the corpus luteum to secrete more progesterone and to stimulate it for secretion. Due to its effect, corpus luteum is continuously secreting estrogens, progesterones, and relaxants. It also helps to maintain the pregnancy by preventing contraction of uterine wall. After about 3 months of pregnancy, secretion of progesterone by the placenta increases, hence importance of corpus luteum decreases and it starts degenerating. If therefore ovaries are surgically removed at this stage, pregnancy remains unaffected. There is no abortion and the fetus grows and develops normally. Okay. The chorionic somatomamotropin was formerly known as placental lactogen. Reaching into mother's body, it serves as a mild growth hormone and promote growth of milk glands. So placental lactogen, it helps to promote the mild growth hormone in the body. This point is also completed. This point is also completed. Wait a minute. Okay. Relaxin hormone. This hormone has been obtained from the corpus luteum of ovaries and from placenta. It is a polypeptide hormone, relaxin hormone. During pregnancy, it causes relaxation of the ligaments of pubic symphysis, and towards the termination of pregnancy, softens and widens the opening of cervix of the uterus for easy childbirth parturition. A temporally structure with endocrine function is present. So, relaxin hormone is basically obtained from either corpus luteum of ovaries or placenta. It is a polypeptide hormone secreted by these two structures. During pregnancy, it causes relaxation of ligaments of pubic symphysis, and towards the termination of pregnancy, it softens and widens the opening of cervix for delivery of baby. Okay. The temporary structure with endocrine function is placenta. Skin. Skin is a producer or activator of vitamin D. Vitamin D, they are synthesized in skin cells under the effect of UV rays of sunlight from cholesterol derived compounds. Cholecalciferol, vitamin D3, okay, is the main D vitamin. It circulates in blood. Liver cells convert it into hydroxycholecalciferol calcidiol by hydroxylation and release back into the blood. So cholecalciferol vitamin D3 is the main D vitamin. It circulates in the blood. Liver cells convert it into hydroxycholecalciferol, that is calcidiol, by hydroxylation and release back into the blood. Certain cells of proximal condyles (PCT) in the kidneys convert calcidiol into dihydroxycalciferol, that is calcitriol, by further hydroxylation and release back into the blood. Calcitriol is an important regulator of calcium homeostasis. It promotes absorption of calcium and phosphorus in the intestine and bone formation. So basically, this vitamin D helps to promote the absorption of calcium, phosphorus in intestine and bone formation. It is therefore required for the growth of the body and body healing. Its deficiency in childhood causes thin, weak, and curved bones, a condition called rickets. Okay, the rickets, the legs they get bent, okay, they becomes bow shaped because of the deficiency of vitamin D. Its deficiency after growth period causes weak, porous, and fragile bones. The bones become very weak, fragile, and porous. This is called osteomalacia. Okay, so osteomalacia is seen in adults and rickets is seen in children. Kidney. Whenever the rate of ultrafiltration in the kidneys decreases due to the low blood pressure, the cells of juxtaglial complexes, macula densa, secrete into a blood a compound named renin. The renin activates the RAA system. Renin is a proteolytic enzyme. It acts upon the plasma protein formed in liver called angiotensinogen. Angiotensinogen in the presence of renin converts into angiotensin 1. Angiotensin 1 further converts into angiotensin 2 in the presence of angiotensin converting enzyme. Besides their functions of excretion, kidneys also secrete three hormones: calcitriol, that is vitamin D3, renin, and erythropoietin. Calcitriol is an active form of vitamin D3 as already described. While the blood flows in the blood capillaries of liver, the angiotensin converting enzyme converts angiotensin 1 into 2, which act as a hormone. Okay? The hormone accelerates heartbeat, it increases heartbeat, vasoconstriction, increased blood pressure. Consequently, the rate of ultrafiltration increases. Okay? So to increase GFR, this process is done. Simultaneously, it stimulates the adrenal cortex to secrete aldosterone, a mineralocorticoid, and enhances water and sodium reabsorption from nephrons. These factors also increase the volume of extracellular fluid, elevating blood pressure. So simultaneously, it stimulates adrenal cortex to secrete aldosterone and enhances water and sodium reabsorption from nephrons. These factors also increase the volume of extracellular fluid, elevating the blood pressure. Now, erythropoietin. Erythropoietin controls formation of erythrocytes, that is red blood cells. So, condition which is known as what? We mean acclimatization. Acclimatization is adaptation to a new environment. So, if a person goes to a high altitude region, the partial pressure of the oxygen there is low. So, in that low oxygen tension, if the body wants to survive with maximum amount of saturation of oxygen to the hemoglobin, it needs large amount of RBCs. So, to increase the number of RBCs so that they can gain more and more oxygen and bind it to make oxyhemoglobin, the RBC count increases. This polycythemia is caused by erythropoietin hormone. Okay, that is why its secretion increases or on decrease in blood volume, hypovolemia or RBC count, or hemoglobin deficiency, that is anemia. Hence, erythropoietin hormone is called renal erythropoietic factor. Contrarily, its secretion decreases when RBC count tends to increase due to blood transfusion or other reasons. Heart. Atrial natriuretic factor, ANF. When volume of extracellular fluid and blood pressure increases, very importantly, please remember that secretion of renin is subject to low blood pressure because juxtaglomerular apparatus they can only sense low blood pressure. Okay, for the secretion of renin. So when the volume of extracellular fluid and the blood pressure increase due to the retention of salts in body, NaCl, certain cardiac muscle cells of atria of the heart secrete atrial natriuretic peptide (ANP), which act as a hormone. The effect of atrial natriuretic peptide is to promote copious urination, frequent urination, that is diuresis. So, because of the loss of salt dissolved in water again and again because of copious urination, the salt tables are maintained. An excretion of NaCl, that is natriuresis, to normalize extracellular volume and blood pressure. It also inhibits the effect of vasoconstriction or vasoconstrictor hormones and secretion of renin, aldosterone, and vasopressin hormones. Okay, so ANF inhibits the effect of vasoconstrictor hormones as well. Okay, so all these hormones they balance each other to maintain the optimum functioning of the body. Local hormones, they are known as what? Pheromones. They are normally, excreted or normally secreted by the insects or the orthopodans. Local hormones known as pheromones. Hormones described so far are called circulating hormones because these circulate in the whole body with the blood. When stimulated by physical or chemical stimuli, all body cells except red blood corpuscles, okay, secrete certain such compounds which transmit coded informations of metabolic adjustments between neighboring cells and hence remain in extracellular fluid instead of diffusing into the blood. These compounds are called local tissue hormones or autocoids. These are short-lived but different types of enzymes present in extracellular fluid, continuing regarding these as a very faster rate, spontaneous rate. So hormones described so far are called circulating hormones because they circulate in the whole body with the blood. When stimulated by physical or chemical stimuli, all body cells except red blood corpuscles, they secrete certain such compounds which transmit coded information of metabolic adjustments between neighboring cells. Hence remain in extracellular fluid instead of diffusing into the blood. These compounds are called local tissues or hormones or autocoids. These are short-lived because various enzymes present in extracellular fluid continue degrading at very faster rate. Local hormones are of two main categories, paracrine and autocrine. Paracrine hormones affect metabolism of cells located in the neighborhood of those which secrete them. Autocrine hormones affect metabolism of every cells which secrete them. Most local hormones are paracrine. They belong to following categories. So local hormones are of two categories, two types. One is paracrine and one is autocrine. Paracrine means they are affecting the metabolism of cells located in the neighborhood of those which secrete them. Autocrine hormones affect metabolism of every cells which secrete them. Most local hormones are paracrine. They belong to following categories. Now, these pheromones or local hormones includes eicosanoids. They are the category of lipids, very important, derived from the fatty acids, arachidonic acid, which is a PUFA, polyunsaturated fatty acid, synthesized in the plasma membrane of cells because cholesterol is required and released in extracellular fluid. So eicosanoids, they are the category of lipids derived from the fatty acids, arachidonic acid, that is polyunsaturated fatty acid, and synthesized in the plasma membrane of the cells and released in extracellular fluid. They are of four categories: prostaglandins, prostacyclins, thromboxanes, and leukotrienes. Prostaglandins, prostacyclins, thromboxanes, and leukotrienes. Prostaglandins. In 1935, Ulf von Euler discovered the human semen contains a very active compound presumably secreted by a prostate gland and hence named as such, prostaglandins. He found after the semen is discharged in women's vagina, This compound contracts uterine muscles to facilitate the sperms to ascend into fallopian tubes and reach over to fertilize these. Okay, so it's present in the semen, but this semen, when discharged in the female vagina, okay, the secretion helps to contract the uterine muscles so that semen can be pushed upward towards the fallopian tube so that it can mate the destined ova. Then prostacyclins, these are found in the walls of blood vessels and induce vasodilation. So prostacyclins, they are basically found in the blood vessel walls, okay, and they induce vasodilation. They also facilitate flow of blood in vessels and prevent thrombosis by inhibiting aggregation of platelets. Prostacyclins, they also facilitate flow of blood in vessels and prevent thrombosis by inhibiting aggregation of platelets. Okay. Thromboxanes, these are secreted by blood platelets. They help in blood clotting by instigating aggregation of platelets at the site of injury. They also instigate vasoconstriction at the places of injury to prevent excessive loss of blood. So icosanoids, prostaglandins, prostacyclins, and thromboxanes. Leukotrienes. They are secreted by eosinophils of the blood and mast cells of the connective tissue. They serve as mediators in inflammatory and allergic reactions, induce bronchoconstriction, constrict arterioles, and induce migration of neutrophils and eosinophils towards the places of inflammation. They can cause asthma, arthritis, and colitis. Then comes neuroregulatory. There is a category of proteins which function as paracrine hormones in the nervous tissue. These are termed as three categories: neurotransmitters, neuromodulators, and nerve growth factors. Neurotransmitters, these are synthesized in the nerve cells and secreted by the exocytosis of axon terminals in these cells when the stimulus it passes from one nerve to the other nerve. Okay, so they are present in the synaptic vesicles in the axon terminal. They get burst because of the calcium influx. Okay, and they come out. They serve to transmit nerve impulse from one neuron to the other neuron or a muscle or neuromuscular junction or a gland across synapses. About 60 of these so far have been discovered, but the most of common of them these are acetylcholine, norepinephrine, dopamine, serotonin, and histamine. Neuromodulators in nervous tissue, the neurons secrete such paracrine hormones which modulate, increase, or decrease the excitability of other neighboring neurons. These hormones are called neuromodulators. The main positive neuromodulator which increase the excitability of other neurons are amino acids, glutamate, and aspartate, and polypeptide P. Contrarily, the main negative modulators which decrease the excitability of neighboring neurons are the amino acid glycine and gamma aminobutyric acid. So, most important, the neuromodulators they basically they are main and they are positive neuromodulators which increase the excitability of other neurons. Okay, with the help of some amino acids like glutamate and aspartate and polypeptide P substance. Contrarily, men negative modulators which decrease the excitability of neighboring neurons are the amino acid glycine and gamma aminobutyric acid, which is the inhibitory neurotransmitter. Polypeptides, enkephalins, endorphins, dynorphins, tachykinins, and nitric oxide. Nerve growth factors, the supporting glial cells of the nervous tissue are called cells of muscles. Salivary glands and many other tissues secrete such a polypeptide paracrine hormone which play important role in growth and development and survival of nerve cells. That is why these hormones are collectively called neutrophils. Okay, they are known as what? Neutrophils. So we discussed about neuro secretory cells and the types, neuroregulators, neuromodulators, and nerve growth factors. Pheromones, they are defined as chemicals excreted or released by one animal to the exterior, but evoke a physiological or a metabolic response, behavioral response in another animal of the same species. Some pheromones released on the body surface evoke a response in the recipient when tasted by later by licking. But most pheromones are volatile and odorous fatty acids, hydrocarbons, whose airborne molecules are received by recipient animals through olfaction. Certain insect pheromones are are well-known examples. For instance, certain insects secrete bombicol or gluteor to attract their mating partners. Some other insects release geranoil to transmit information of food source of or danger to their fellows. So geranoil and bombicol or gluteor, okay, they all are pheromones. In mammals, presumably including humans, volatile fatty acids secreted by vaginal fluid act as pheromones. They may evoke sex drive in males or affect menstrual cycle in their females. It has been observed that there is a tendency of synchronized menstrual cycles in female roommates, that dormitory effect, which must be due to pheromones. The sex pheromones includes bombicol, silk moth, female, and musk deer. Queen substance created by honeybee, queen, and civetone cat. Aggregation pheromones, geradiol, honeybee. Alarm pheromones, danger signals. Marketing pheromones, making the territory more strong. Insectal endocrine glands. The endocrine system of the cockroach comprise intracellular glands, corpora hilata, corpora cardiaca, and prothoracic glands. Okay. So prothoracic, corpora hilata, corpora cardiaca, and all these intracerebral gland cells. Intercerebral gland cells. These cells lie in the brain between the two cerebral ganglia. They lie in the brain between two cerebral ganglia. They secrete a hormone called brain hormone. This hormone activates the prothoracic gland to secrete their hormone. Corpora cardiaca. There is a pair of rod-like bodies situated on the sides of esophagus, just behind the brain. They secrete growth hormone. Corpora hilata, there are a pair of small rounded bodies lying close behind the corpora cardiaca. They secrete juvenile hormone in the nymphal stages, like for example honeybee and all. Okay, this hormone causes retention in the nymphal characters and reaches or checks the appearance of adult characters. In other words, it affects the young insect, especially in the last nymphal form. Corpora hilata becomes inactive, thereby resulting in the absence of juvenile hormone. The absence of this juvenile hormone permeates the appearance of oxygen. Okay. Prothoracic glands, they are fairly large, irregular glands within the prothorax. They secrete a hormone called ecdysone, which controls the molting of the nymphs. The prothoracic glands secrete their metamorphosis. Okay. So I will be dealing with you can say the need time in the next turn, and we will complete this chapter, okay, by adding some uh, diagram based questions as well. Okay. So till then, my dear students, bye bye. Take care, stay safe, stay healthy.